Welcome back to the StockTA podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Steuer. Today, we're taking a deep dive into agricultural inputs and critical fertilizer infrastructure right in the heart of the world's premier potash basin. We're looking at Buffalo Potash, ticker BUFF on the TSXV. Please note this interview is being disseminated on behalf of Buffalo Potash. Their flagship Disley Project covers 10,000 hectares in Saskatchewan, directly next to multi-decade producing powerhouses like K&S Bethune and Mosaic's Belle Plaine. Joining me to break down their project is Buffalo Potash's president and COO, Quinton Hardage. Quinton, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Kevin.
So Quinton's going to pull up his slide deck and kind of give us a high-level overview for my listeners who don't know much about this sector.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. So Buffalo Potash is a new potash company with a really interesting spin on the mining technology, the mining method using historical oil and gas, proven oil and gas technology. So I want to kind of go through a couple of key slides that I think make Buffalo Potash a really interesting investment opportunity. First off, we've completed a PEA study of our resource, and we have really robust economics based on that PEA, a really high 8% NPV of about $1.1 billion. You know, Buffalo has a really new business model in that we're doing production from a staged approach. So we're going to bring on an initial production in the next 12 months of about 125,000 tons per year of soluble grade product. And then we're going to build onto that production. We don't have to start with a big nameplate production right from the beginning. And that's just because our technology allows us to develop with lower operating costs. Our technology is patented. We received our patent in early 2020, and that is for horizontal line drive selective solution mining. So we're the only company that can use multi-stage packers, create a mining plane within the potash deposit and recover potash that way. Our team is one of the top-notch teams in the industry. We have over 100 years of experience in the potash industry, led by our CEO, Steve Halabura, who has been instrumental in bringing on the last two potash projects in Saskatchewan. That's the K+S mine and also the BHP mine that is coming online at Jansen next year. And then we also have a runway to build multiple 500,000 ton per year facilities at Dizzley and our other two assets, which I'll get into. One of the other things that really sets us apart is we are right across the street from K+S's Bethune mine and Mosaic's Belle Plaine mine. So we're right in the heart of proven solution mining ground. As I mentioned, we have a top-notch team. Steve Halabur has been, involved in the potash industry for 40-some years. He has put the X on the map for BHP's Jansen mine. He put the X on the map for what is now the K+S solution mine at Bethune. And he has been a consultant to, most of the potash projects in Saskatchewan in some way, shape, or form. Myself, my background is geological engineering, focusing on operations. I've been a part of oil and gas projects and potash. Steve and I have worked on a number of projects together. We've had a working relationship of over 16 years doing potash and oil and gas projects. It's those projects that have really allowed us to create the HLD selective solution mining. We worked on several SAGD and tight oil water flood projects using this proven oil and gas technology, and that's what allowed us to bring that into the potash industry. Another one of our key directors is Peter Jackson. Peter Jackson is the former VP of operations for Mosaic Belle Plaine. He has great experience in the industry. When someone of Peter's pedigree, comes, does research on our technology, understands our business model, and says, I want to be a part of that, that's a huge feather in our cap. A couple other key people to mention here is Jeff Barber. Jeff Barber is a former director, is a director of Standard Lithium, and he kind of understands working with brine to bring high-grade material to the surface. Jeff has participated in one of our financing rounds and joined our board, which was great. The other thing to kind of notice is a lot of our team is made up of CFAs. And the reason for that is because we're really pushing towards production. We expect to be in initial production Q1 2027. And so having that financial expertise in our team, helps us raise the capital to get there, and then also will help us sell our product once we produce. So that's why we've got so many CFAs on our team. So obviously location is really important, and we're located, like I said, in the heart of solution mining territory. We're offsetting K+S's Bethune mine, and we're offsetting Mosaic's Belle Plaine mine. Steve and I know this area really well. As mentioned, Steve actually put the X on the map for a company called Potash One, and which was purchased by K plus S. And I did all of the initial technical work with Steve for the initial development of the K plus S project. So we went out, we shot the 2D seismic lines, we picked the drilling locations, we drilled those wells, and then we participated on K plus S's 43-101 and pre-feasibility study. So Steve and I know this area really well, so it was natural for us just to come and do our project right across the street. The other key thing is this is a proven solution mining area in Saskatchewan with the two biggest solution mines in the world directly south and southwest of us. So let's get into our Disley project a little bit. This map has changed because we are actively drilling right now. We just recently drilled the 15 of 10 well and just cored that one. We're doing assays on that right now. And we've also just drilled our 2 of 14 well. So those wells have not been incorporated into our 43-101. The wells that are incorporated into our 43-101 are the Lumsden pilot project right here done in 1964, the 7 of 10 well, which we drilled in January, February of 2026, and this historical Imperial well also drilled in the 1960s. We were fortunate that we were able to use a lot of this historic data, re-assay this historic data, and incorporate it into our resource estimate that we did in the PEA that we released in April. The other two key things to note here is that we've done 2 3D seismic programs, one outlined in black and one outlined in blue. And what you can see from the resource estimate that was third-party resource estimate was provided is that we have a robust resource that gives us probably 50 plus years of mining at over 1 million tons per year from 2 different facilities, what we call the Disley East and the Disley West facilities. So we know we're in an area where there's really good potash. We know we're in an area where potash production has been happening for 40, 50 years. And we also know we're in an area of really good infrastructure. We have road access, rail access, power access, natural gas, and a really good workforce for potash. So that's really important. Now, I want to draw your attention to this pilot that was done in the 1960s by Lumsden Potash Development Company. That was owned by Occidental Petroleum. And Occidental, basically with that pilot, was able to prove that they could use high pressure injection and connect up 2 vertical wells along a clay seam and circulate brine to produce potash. And so you can kind of see that here on the right-hand side. This is exactly what Occidental Petroleum did. They drilled their injection well, and then they drilled a production well about 100 meters away. They injected NaCl brine in along the clay seam, and then they created this elliptical mining plane. And they were able to produce potash doing that. So they technically proved that method. What they were not able to do was economically prove that method, in that they realized that they were going to need hundreds of vertical wells in order to produce the potash that they wanted to produce. Well, fast forward to 2015, with the invention of multi-stage packers and horizontal wells, and combining those together like they do in the oil and gas industry, and Buffalo feels that we can prove this technology economically by using what we call horizontal line drive selective solution mining. And so basically you're rotating what Occidental Petroleum did back in 1960s, and you're stamping a number of these sequences down a horizontal well. So we're able to eliminate the need for 45 to 90 vertical wells with 3 horizontal wells. So we feel that we will be the ones that are able to technically prove this technology, and we're actually out in the field doing it right now. Like I said, we've drilled 2 vertical wells, and our next step is to drill 3 horizontal wells and create the first ever mining plane in the potash industry, and that will be happening in August and September. One other thing I'd like to highlight is that we have a really decent runway for multiple projects within Saskatchewan, and a runway to what we believe is 3 million tons per year of production in Saskatchewan. So we're focusing on our Disley prospect because it's right across the street from two existing producing solution mines. But we also have two other projects at Edenwald and Odessa. We feel that both of those properties has the potential for two 500,000 ton per year facilities, which would give us a total of about 3 million tons per year of production. The nice thing is that we can scale this as demand needs. So we can bring on these new projects as needed instead of having to go right to 2 or 3 million tons per year from the start. Because our technology is so efficient and our operating costs are projected to be so low, we're able to start small and bolt on and build bigger. And that is basically what our presentation.
Awesome. Thanks for running through that with us. I'm going to pull up my screen real quick and we're going to share your ticker here. So this is on the OTC. This is BLP. You guys have actually done pretty well since the beginning of July. We have you as bullish across the board with major support at 49 cents and medium resistance at 53 cents. And you entered today at 52 cents. So if you can get above that, you have a little bit of room to run into the upper 50s and then potentially low 70s. So I think you guys are at an interesting point here. Let's talk about kind of some of the upcoming catalysts. Like, do you guys, if you're drilling wells now, what does the turnaround time look like? What are your drilling costs? Is it kind of similar to oil and gas drilling compared to like, looking for a gold or silver kind of that? Is it different? I don't know a lot about this space, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, it's very similar to oil and gas. We're using proven oil and gas technology. We're just reapplying it to the potash industry. And we have a really catalyst-rich story here over the next 6 months. Like I mentioned, we're going to be drilling 3 horizontal wells here starting in August and into September. And then we'll be creating our mining plane through brine circulation. After we've started brine circulation, then we start moving our processing equipment in later 2026 and early 2027 so that we can actually start producing a soluble grade product. So where we're going to be in the next 6 months is, we're hoping to be a cash flow positive potash company. And obviously that, offers us a lot of flexibility and really changes and allows for what we think will be a significant re-rate in our valuation.
You stole my next question. I was going to ask about the re-rate and how that works. So if you guys are going to be like eventually 3 tons per year, you said, where does that put you compared to other producers? Is that kind of like a mid-tier? Is that a large tier? Like, how does that compare to your neighbors?
Yeah, so our neighbors, I think, are producing anywhere from 4 to 6 million tons per year, but they've kind of had to start at least 2 million tons per year. We'll start at 125,000 tons per year of production. And over the next kind of 5 to 10 years, we will add on up to 3 million tons per year of production. So we'll do it based on demand, and we'll be able to do that kind of looking at the market conditions while we're doing it. We have maximum flexibility in the way we've designed Buffalo that allows us to do that. And I think that's really important. Typically the potash model was, in order to get our operating costs down, we have to start at 2 million tons per year in order to make these projects economical. But using our technology, we're able to start small and ramp up, using cash flow to do some of our ramp up instead of having to, come to the table with, several $1 billion to launch a mine.
How has, I've seen a lot of stuff in the news about fertilizer and agricultural inputs being impacted by what's going on in the Middle East. How does that impact you guys? Like, how does a lot of potash come from the Middle East? Does that have any direct impact on the supply and demand chain that we face over here in North America?
I mean, the demand for potash has always been robust, and it continues to grow kind of in that 1 to 2% per year. Being in Saskatchewan allows us maximum flexibility for shipping product around the world. And so we're able to avoid, certain choke points if we needed to for shipping potash around the world. I do think there has been some disruptions based on the Strait of Hormuz, but, we're able to kind of adapt to that. And because our production is so scalable, it allows us to deal with those, global phenomenons or global things that are happening in the world and kind of scale our way around that.
Is it on the critical minerals list yet? Like, I've seen the Canadian and US governments come out with different minerals. This one of them?
Yes, potash is a critical mineral in Saskatchewan.
Okay. So this has the potential. Does that help you guys with permitting and, environmental studies? Does that change any of the timelines for that?
Not really. I mean, the permitting process is really straightforward for Buffalo Potash. We follow more of like an oil and gas type play. So it's, our project is not going to have, tailings ponds. We're not going to have tailings on surface. And we have a really small footprint. So from an environmental and a permitting perspective, it's really straightforward. We're already well down the path of getting our first production module, all permitted and in place. But yeah, it's a fairly straightforward process in Saskatchewan, and the fact that we expect to be considered a non-development project, which means kind of a smaller, lower risk environmental project.
Okay. So just to wrap this up, we look at the chart 6 months from now. What do we think is the biggest fundamental driver of your company?
Yeah, without a doubt, it's getting to production, initial production of soluble grade and sales. Going from a kind of a junior resource company to an operating producing company with really strong cash flow is going to be the significant re-rate. It kind of pairs us more towards some of the production companies in the world, the Intrepid Potashes of the world that are producing a smaller nameplate amount of production.
Okay. Awesome. Well, for my viewers who want to find more about your company, where should they look?
Yeah, please check out our website at buffalopotash.ca. And my contact information is on the website. You're more than happy to kind of reach out to us at any time, and we'll answer any questions we can.
Okay. Quinton, thank you so much. That's it for today's show. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next CEO Deep Dive. I'm Kevin Steuer. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.